Hello and welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons Live. This is Fergus, I'm your host, and tonight I'm joined by three other fellow Gooners from various parts of the world and the country. On this episode, we're going to talk about the West Ham game. We're going to look ahead to the game against Standard Liège tomorrow night, and we're also going to look ahead to the game against Manchester City on Sunday. We'll also have a bit about the Gooner debate, and we will discuss we'll discuss things like about how Freddie's getting on and the new manager and who could it be, etc., etc. So it's the usual sort of stuff. I would like for everybody to join in. So if you have got a question, make sure join in on the chat and pop your questions in there. I'm unsure how this is going on Facebook because Facebook have banned me again, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. I've done nothing wrong. I got a message about 2 or 3 minutes before we went live to say I've been banned from Facebook. So I blame Manny. I think he's probably reported me or something like that. That's what I reckon. This is a very momentous podcast for us. I'll bring all the other guys in. So I've got Big Steve, I've got Johnny from the North Bank, and I have Trevor, old man Trev. This is episode 100 for Guns and Yellow Ribbons. We have obviously done some of the specials with the We Care and the Gooner to Gooners and some of the other little bits and pieces. We've done one about the women's football as well. But off the weekly podcast, we have done 100. So I thank everybody for listening. I thank everybody for joining in. But it's also a very momentous day. Trev, you were talking to me before we came on live. It's a very momentous day for Arsenal Football Club. Over to you.
Yes, it is indeed, Fergus. It is indeed. You've probably seen on social media today. It's the 133rd birthday of the Arsenal playing their first ever game, 1886. And it was against Eastern Wanderers and the man that formed the club. There was a quartet of four of them, but the main man was a bloke called David Danskin, and he was captain of that first game. And they beat Eastern Wanderers 6-0, and the rest is history, as we say. And let's hope we have a similar result tomorrow,
Trev, do you remember it?
Well, I did warn you before we came on air about this.
The one thing he asked you not to say.
Looking over my glasses, but no, it was slightly before my time. It was about the same time as Tottenham last won the league, I think it was actually.
Oh, okay.
So ancient history, then ancient
history. Steve, you're all the way up in Sunderland, and you had your back door smashed in earlier today, didn't you?
Yes. Rear windscreen.
Sorry, rear windscreen. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Some senile old whatever next door, but talking about when Tottenham last won the league, I got a little historic artifact from is knitted for my mum when she was born, so would have been early 60s, and when she was about 10, she fancied the pants off of Mr. Charlie George, so this little fella is Charlie George.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
keep him up in Sunderland.
So that Charlie George hasn't seen Tottenham win the league either.
Nope. I don't think he ever will. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully Johnny be in landfill before he ever gets
Johnny from the North Bank. Sorry, I just went at the wrong time to you. Were you a mouthful of Coke?
Rum and Coke. I'm not messing about. This is still down the pub talking about the Arsenal.
Good. You've got a new camera?
I have, yes. Make my baldiness all the more shiny with a ring light, and you can see the glare off the bald head.
This could go really wrong, couldn't it? So let's be adult and let's behave ourselves somewhere along the line. Right, West Ham. I was in Dresden. I was in Germany for the last few days, and I didn't get to go to the West Ham game. And I watched it in a bar in Dresden with a TV over. There's loads of TVs, but our TV was above a door, and there was no sound. And I had Nuremberg versus Salzburg, I think, playing. So there's loads of distractions. But to be honest, I think I was probably lucky there was a distractions because it wasn't the best good result, but not the best game in the world. Arsenal had gone 10 games without a win, our worst run of form since 1977. A win with an away game against Standard Liège, who we'll talk about later, who have really going to throw everything and the kitchen sink and everything at us to try and get a win because they can go through. And also then Man City, we could actually match a 1974 record of 12 Baron games, so no win in since 1974. Fortunate enough, we didn't. The lineup was Martinelli started, so did Pepe, and Laka and Guendouzi were dropped to the bench. What did we make of the lineup? Trev, I'll go to you first, then I'll do Johnny and then Steve. So, Trev, away you go.
Yeah, the lineup was all right with me, Fergus. It was good to see Tierney starting. It was a shame that the poor boy got injured, and of course we lost Bellerin before the start. But I like Martinelli. I think when the team's been having a bad run, I think bring a youngster in like that, bit of a loose cannon, is exactly what you need. Exactly what you need. I'm not going to dwell on this. We'll come back to it in a minute when we talked about the teams, Fergus. But I don't think it was necessarily a bad performance. I'm taking a different approach to it, I don't think it was necessarily a bad performance. I think it was a performance that reflected how our results had been going. And we can talk about that in a minute when the other lads have had their say about the choice of the team. But the only one that surprised me was he dropped Luiz. And once again, all good for Freddie. He showed he's got a pair of balls. I said it the other night. He's picking the team he thinks. So, I was all right with it, to be honest.
Johnny, what did you make of it?
I was disappointed that Bellerin had to pull out for. He pulled out with a
hamstring,
in the warm up. I was quite positive because we had Chambers playing in his preferred position, which we've been calling for. I mean, his early season performances were really good, so we really should be trying to play him there and not David lose it for us, Luiz. But just looking at the lineup was we've been calling out for difference at the centre half. We got it. We got calling out for Torreira to start in the centre. We got it. We got calling out for Pepe to start and Martinelli to get more time. We got it. And it's all showing positive green shoots. And it takes a little while to get that in. And we all have to be realistic that he hasn't had that many full sessions with them. And I think he's starting to show that he is different. He's giving us what we need, not just what we want.
Okay. Steve, thoughts?
Yeah, I initially liked the back four. I've said it a couple of times before. I think, Chambers and Socrates together has shown our probably only good defensive performance this season. So it's nice to see that again. Again, Torreira in the middle, I thought was good. Having playing a 4-2-3-1 with Pepe and Martinelli out wide rather than Laka up top and Aubameyang up wide, I think just gave us a little bit more balance. So I was quite happy with the lineup initially.
Okay. So if we look at, you mentioned Bellerin got injured in the warm-up. We went 1-0 down. So that meant that we had to bring in Maitland-Niles. We went 1-0 down because Ogbonna, I'm dreadful with his name, it's struggle anyway.
Yeah,
Ogbonna's header bounced off the arse of Maitland-Niles. Maitland-Niles was unfortunate. I don't think Maitland-Niles is a right back. We've had that discussion, but let's not castigate the guy totally. I don't think he could have done.
He didn't do that bad.
Go on.
I didn't think he did that bad. I thought he did a solid performance. Really, I mean, he wasn't. Apart from it going in off his arse, I don't really think he had a bad game.
I didn't see it fantastically from my end, but I'm talking more probably off his games of recent. He hasn't been great, and that's why I said we don't want to really slag him off. And if he's had a good game, great, fantastic. But my issue on that one was VAR. They went to VAR, and I think it was Michael Oliver was the VAR referee. Yeah. It took him 3-4 minutes to decide. I could see straight away, even without VAR, you could see
it was very, very clear. There was nothing to decide. Anybody who saw the first replay could see that there's nothing there to decide. It was a fair goal. Granted, it was a bad deflection off his arse, but still, there was nothing to decide.
No. And Tierney on the 29th minute dislocated his shoulder. I've just heard today that he's out for between 2 and 3 months. It would have been a lot longer back in the day, but 2 or 3 months is not great considering the guy has not been 100% fit when he signed for us, and he's been struggling just to get into get a proper run in the team. But it does mean one thing: we've got Kolasinac, Steve. We've got Kolasinac, who's going to be our first choice left back. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, he's played a lot of this season anyway. Tierney's shown some good, good signs when he's been playing. But unfortunately, he's not going to be missed as such. And Kolasinac come on. I thought he put in a bloody good ball for the assist. And from what I've heard and what I've seen, I only saw the highlights. I thought he looked fairly solid considering he come in, early on in the first half. The only problem is we haven't got the depth there. And if Bellerin's out again, then we've got Maitland-Niles covering right back and left back, potentially, if Chambers goes back to right back. So we've got to strengthen in Jan.
Well, if you look at our left back options past Tierney, you got the young lad Lopez, who's a lot of people have been talking a lot about, and Ljungberg knows him well. And Saka can play at left wing back, which is not a terrible option because he has some defensive qualities. He's not a left back. We know he's not a left back. We're not talking out of our asses here, but he has played some games at left wing back.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally want to see Saka anywhere near wing back or left back. I'd much rather put Maitland-Niles there. He played there towards the end of Wenger's reign. I think the problem with Saka is he had his little run at left wing, and after a couple of games, you had people, saying that he's showing the promise, but he's not up to scratch. You then put him into a defensive position when our defense is already all over the place. It could murder any confidence that he is getting or starting to get. So I think Lopez or
thing that the team has in a rarity at the moment, and that's confidence.
Yeah, I think Lopez or even Zach Medley, I think we've discussed before, has played a couple of games at left back. So
he needs to get his career back on
Johnny, you summed it up quite well that the first half as well, that it was obvious for the first 60 minutes even that the team played with a lack of confidence. And Trev, you intimated at the beginning that you had more to say on this side of things. That go on, I'll leave it open to you.
Yeah. Well, firstly, going back to Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he didn't have a bad game, in fairness to the lad. But the way I look at things, if you can turn your back on the ball and it bounces off you, you can get in the way and block it. You ain't got to turn your back; you can see it. So I think he should have blocked that for the goal in there. But you're right, boys. I don't think we weren't playing badly, right? If you look at the possession we had in the first half an hour, it was massive. But we had all that possession in our own half because we were scared. We were playing just like a team that were on a bad run, that had no confidence, that didn't want to lose the game under any circumstances. And that's how we played. That's not necessarily playing badly. That's just being scared, of what's happened previously. And as we grew, as the game went on, I thought we grew into it. We went 1-0 down, and then we went 1-0 down. And what do we do after we go 1-0 down? There's only one or two ways it can go there. We either fall apart because we're losing every game anyway, and they think, oh, here we go again, right? Or we pick it up, we start playing, and we try and come back and win a game, which is exactly what we did, right? And I don't know if it actually happened, but I credit Freddie Ljungberg for that. I credit Freddie Ljungberg because he must have done something or said something, because they came out second half, started playing.
Do you think there was some mild boos from the travelling support at the end of the first half when we failed to have a shot on target in the whole first half? Do you think that been booed away at West Ham, and then Freddie's come along and shock him up a bit. Like Raul comes along and says a question on here, and maybe it was with the likes of the under 23 players of Martinelli and some of the other younger players getting on there. We need to start more of these under 23s in the first team to show the current squad what hunger for a game and pride for the club is. I think it's a great question, Johnny.
No, I agree. It wasn't that long ago we was talking on our group chat, and I was saying at this point we've got two options, and one of the options I said is that bomb out the experienced players who have got no confidence, and then play the kids and just like go for it. These are players that Freddie knows well. It couldn't have got any worse at the end of the day, and they will come in and they'll all say, "This is my chance. I need to grasp it with both hands," and they will show grit and they will show passion. And that's what I think Raul was getting at. I think he's right. I mean, we could quite easily blood a few. I mean, Lopez is a good defender. I've seen some really good performances from him. And I mean, I think we nicked him off of Barcelona, La Masia. So he's not a terrible player. He's a good player.
And Martinelli, one of those youth players, added to a 7th goal in all competitions this season. Kolasinac, who we berate quite a bit, or some do at least, provided a cross. But there was still a lot to do for the lad. And on the 60th minute, it went totally against the run of play. We brought it back to 1-1. I do like this kid, Martinelli.
Who doesn't?
All right, what?
You can't do anything
against
wrong
run
at
of
the
play.
moment.
I don't
Sorry,
think it was against a run of play. I
No,
don't think
no,
it was against a run of play.
I agree.
it was.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't out of the game at any time. Just going back to what you said about the under 23s, boys, you wouldn't want to put any youngsters in the team now, not too many anyway. Look at what we've got coming up. We've got City this weekend, right? Then we've got Everton away, who are now flying. We've got Chelsea at home. Then we've got Man United at home. We don't want to be putting these youngsters in there for a beating at this time. We need to show our faith in what we've got here and let them pick it up. And I think they will. I think we'll be all right.
We could put a few of them in the Standard Liège side, the side to face Standard Liège.
Do we know
But we need to win that game, Fergus.
Well,
we need to beat
point.
Standard Liège.
We'll talk about that game. We'll talk about that game. But we also have the opportunity in January to play some of those players in the FA Cup against Leeds. So that's an opportunity. Again, not going to be an easy game. Not going to be an easy
forward to that. I'm looking forward to that.
So
there you go. Leeds are flying as well. You know, there's nothing easy coming up, boys. Oh wow!
Scotty's made.
But we've not mentioned Pepe yet, have we?
We've
not mentioned Pepe
No.
yet.
We're getting to that. I've got it
Mike's
all
just
written
made
here.
a point whilst we're on it. Yeah.
Scotty Mike has come along and said Martinelli has dragged the team forward, which he did. I thought he pulled the team the whole way along. Brilliant player.
I tell what I love. Can I just butt in? I know you. When he scored, picked the ball up from the back of the net, put his thumbs up to the crowd, and got back to the centre circle. Like that is the passion and just the work. He's a workhorse, and we say that, but you know there was still plenty of time left. But he's like, no messing about. Get the ball, get it back. Let's carry on going. I love that from a 18-year-old as well. Like.
I've got a new name for him. He's the Brazilian Jamie Vardy.
Don't. It's a discredit to him.
No. You think about it. He's coming from the lower leagues in Brazil, and he's coming up. He's been given his chance, and he's grasping it with both hands, and he's giving it everything he's got.
He's giving it some, and
he's a fantastic player. His movement for that goal. Where he did what Rooney used to do in his pomp, where he would allow the defender as they're running back to get a bit further ahead
and
and
slow his run down,
creating that space. He's done it so many
fantastic,
times now. Brilliant awareness.
What a ball into him as well, Johnny. What a ball into him it was as well, eh?
But that he had to create the space for the ball to get to the first.
It just opened. I've watched that back so many times. I've only only seen the highlights, but. That goal, just the pull back from Kolasinac. You know, at first when I saw the highlights, obviously I sort of knew a goal was coming, But I think if I was watching that, I would have just expected Kolasinac to just put it over everyone straight out. But the space just open up and bang, bang. Great goal.
And with one league goal all season in open play. Well, no, actually, yeah, because it was his other goals.
Penalty.
The other goals were in the Europa League. Pepe has not really lived up to his billing. But his goal here, curling a shot in the top right-hand corner of David Martin's net, was a peach.
It was, again, a bloody...
Pick that out.
Yeah, and it was confident. It was a confident finish, boys, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
It's what
wonderful.
He did so often last season. And I've said it a couple of times before. When you play him on the right and you give him options to either put the ball in, which we saw for the third goal, or cut inside if there's any space, he'll take it. You know, if you're not playing a creative midfielder and you're not playing other runners, then he's coming so deep for the ball. If you allow him the space out wide to cut in and make that movement, make that decision, hopefully, you know, we'll see a bit more of that in upcoming fixtures. But yeah, as you say, pick that one out.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, he's going to be the type of player, Steve, that's going to lose the ball on the odd occasion because he's got.
Sanchez was the same. Sanchez was the same. And everybody gave him free pass for donkey.
Yeah, the Alexis tax, you mean?
Yeah. If you're
Pepe's going to slot a goal in like that, you know what I mean? Pepe's going to slot the goals in like that. I don't mind if he loses the ball every now and again.
Well, Pepe's better at taking players on going forward than Alexis was. Alexis was all about just knocking it past them and using his pace.
Did you not think that the Pepe goal was very similar to his 2 free kicks he took against was it Liège at the Emirates?
His left foot?
Yeah, it's that position just outside the box. You know, he can float a ball in and great. But I was talking to Martin, my daughter's partner, and when we're over in Germany, I picked a game up out there. I went and saw Dynamo Dresden play at home, which was brilliant. We'll talk a little bit about that in VAR as well. But he was saying that Bayern Munich looked at Pepe, but the reason that they didn't buy Pepe and they got Sonny instead was that Pepe needed so much time and space that the Premier League would be too fast and compact for him. And, you know, when I had heard that comment and watched the first half of the game, I actually thought, you know what, you've probably got a point, because once you get him going, his pace is fantastic, but he just needs 1-2 touches to get going. Anybody else?
He needs time to adapt. He's not as a boy genius or anything. He's just going to hit the ground running. He come with a very heavy weight on his shoulders of a very large price tag, and he's got and people have got untold amount of videos of highlights of knowing how to deal with him. Whereas the players that are coming up against Martinelli don't really have that as much. I think really he needs a bit more time to be able to get used to the league, and I think he'll come good. I think he's showing enough for us to give him more time. It's not like a manager in a sense where they're easily just sacked mid-season. These players, they stick around, and they're a much larger investment. And he's our record signing, so we need to back him, sing for him, and come up with a decent song on a par with the Laka song. And I think he'll get it. And he'll start to build up his confidence, and he'll start showing up a bit more.
One guy who does show up game after game after game with 43 goals in all competitions, a joint high alongside the aforementioned Jamie Vardy. Aubameyang on the 69th minute made certain of the win. And few would have anticipated it 10 minutes earlier with a clinical finish that took his tally clinical finish. That took his tally to 13 all season. 9 minutes that have been disguised the fact that we had been virtual spectators for the first hour, in my view. Anybody disagree?
I think first half, I'd agree with you. I think losing one of the leaders, one of the captains, right before the game, as he was expecting to come back from an injury, was a bit disjointing bit jarring. And then barely halfway through the first half, we lost our other side fullback in Tierney and quite a bad injury. So it's understandable that he could, the team could be a little bit shaken, and then get a bit of Swedish fire, get them a fire lit under their asses at halftime. I think was a good thing. I think that's exactly what they got. And when they come out, you could tell the difference. I think the first half, yes, but you could see them building straight from the kickoff. And I thought it was brilliant. When
Terry Greenwood says, Freddie reminds me of what happened when Emery first started. Normally a poor first half, but a bit of fire and passion at halftime chat. Just pity we can't get it all game. I think that's coming, Terry. I think that's just... Go on, Trev.
Look, we weren't spectators, right? We were not spectators in the first half, right? We were a team that was scared to play, nervous. We had loads and loads and loads and loads of possession, right? But we just didn't do anything with that possession, right? We had the ball. We were playing, but we were scared to play. And as I said earlier on, we went a goal down, and that was possible. I thought at the time that's the worst thing that could have happened. But on reflection, look what he did. He started us playing. It maybe made us free up a little bit, We weren't spectators, boys. We were scared. That's my view, And what we've not touched on yet, right? And I'm not going to dwell on it because I don't, me, I say it most weeks, I don't do personal attacks on players, right? But Xhaka was bad. He was very poor.
He was.
He just couldn't keep the ball. He couldn't keep, especially second half at times. Every pass he made was going to the opposition. He was very poor, that boy. He needs to pull his socks up. I'm not going to dwell on that anymore.
I'll try and find these stats, but I'm pretty sure his passing stats were terrible.
Oh, Johnny was awful, mate.
Man, I've seen a few people praising Xhaka. I mean, I've only seen the highlights, so none of the highlights that I saw, the 3-minute highlights or the 7-minute highlights, I didn't see anything that Xhaka did well. But there's people out there praising him, saying he was brave, saying that he had a real good game. It's like I didn't see any of that from.
What about Ozil? Ozil didn't have the best game. I remember. I again watching it with no sound. You don't get. And even any sound that I was going to get was going to be in German, so I wouldn't have understood a word of it. You do actually make your own mind up rather than getting brainwashed by whatever commentators talking and pundits are talking on there. I thought at times he showed a bit of promise, but really and truly, he didn't really start sprinting until we were like 2-1, 3-1 up, and then he started getting involved because, I'm up for this one now. He just didn't seem to be up for it at the beginning.
I don't really agree, to be honest with you. Controversially, I thought he was actually trying, but with like new tactics, which are clearly new tactics. He was running constantly. I think his running stats were quite high, and I've accused certain players in the past of running into dead ends and running into space where they can't be picked up. And I don't think we can accuse him of that this time. I think he was really trying. He was dropping deep to try and pick up the ball. He was linking much, 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 much better than Xhaka was, and he was trying to pick up a little bit of the slack that Xhaka was dropping because he was not linking the play as he should have done in the middle of the park. So he was trying to do more than his role should have been. He should have been receiving the ball much higher up and wasn't.
Okay. Did anybody pick up? I've read about it since, but the West Ham announcer, when the substitution for Guendouzi, he announced him as David Luiz. Yeah. Did anybody?
I've done that. What haven't you done? Tell you boys that watch it all the time. Tell me you haven't done that. I've been watching the game now and thought to myself, "What's Luiz doing over there?" And it's Guendouzi. I've done it, Yeah.
Dynamo Dresden. Dynamo Dresden had their own, the very own David Luiz or Guendouzi, whichever you want. There was another guy with the hair like that, and I was saying when they were warming up, they warm up really strange in Germany. They warm up behind the goal rather than behind their own goalkeeper, rather than behind on the touchline like that we do. It's really, really strange setup. Really strange setup. What did we make of, like, okay, Arsenal came back from halftime losing position to win a Premier League game for the first time since October 2011, which was the 5-3 that Theo Walcott goal against Chelsea all those years back. So you're looking at nearly 8 years ago, so just over 8 years ago. I didn't get to see the pictures at the end, but people are talking about the passion that Freddie had and the passion that Freddie showed after the game. What I think he's got a proper connection with these players, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And the fans. He went over to the away fans as well, didn't he, old Freddie? And I mean, Unai showed all that enthusiasm on a touchline, but he never came over to the fans at the end. I can recall. I may be wrong, but I can't recall it. Yeah, good old Freddie. Good on him. Yeah, I think we should stick with him now for 22 years.
Another 22 years. In Freddie we trust. We'll have banners up in Freddie we rust, in Freddie we trust. You know, we will have Freddie tomorrow night. The Gunners need to avoid a defeat to qualify for the knockouts. While Standard Liège must beat the Arsenal by a heavy margin and also rely on Vitoria beating Frankfurt. So it's not impossible, but it's unlikely. They would have to beat us 5-0. And the most important thing they need to do is concede. Concede is the most important thing they need to do for us, but not concede, which is something they haven't done in the last away games. Their Standard Liège Europa League away form is 1 loss, 1 drawn, and Arsenal's is 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. What are we looking to this game tomorrow night? I know some of the guys are Jerome, who's been on here with us a couple of times. He's off out to Belgium. I don't know if he's got a ticket yet. I hope you do, mate. But what are we making this game as a 5 to 6 kickoff? Steve, I'll leave it to you.
I'm quite looking forward to it. Simply because I mean, we saw with Unai Emery that Freddie was supposedly in charge of a lot of the early Europa games. So now that we've made a few changes in the league in terms of lineup and how we're playing, it'll be interesting to see how we go in the Europa League, whether or not he'll use it as a foundation to try and build on that momentum that we're hoping to now get off the back of the West Ham win, or whether or not he'll play, you know, the likes of Nelson, Willock, bring Guendouzi back in, whether or not he'll change up the back four again, bring Mustafi in, maybe play a back three. I don't know. I'm quite intrigued, but I'm looking forward to it for the simple fact that there's a lot less pressure on this game. I know we need to avoid the defeat, but I think if he goes out, sets the team up, and says, "Do what you do," I think it might be a good game for us.
I don't think it's a matter of just telling Arsene Wenger style, go out and play your game. I think he really does have to put an arm around certain players and give a kick up the arse for other players, just to, and really set out some tactics to win the game, not avoid defeat, because that is a small club mentality. That is Spurs,
of course,
the utmost.
But what I mean is, there's a couple of ways that he can approach this now, I think it's going to be an interesting one, and I'm a little bit optimistic.
I'm a bit gutted, boys. I am. It's the first European away I've missed in quite a while. When I'm on a bit of a downer actually tonight.
I was surprised that you weren't going.
Well, a beautiful wife, Donna, has actually said to me today, I wish you'd gone to Liège because I've been real grumpy, Trevor. I couldn't really go because I wouldn't have got back here till probably Saturday night, Sunday, and we're flying over to the UK next Wednesday. So it was one I had to miss, unfortunately. But we will go through. We'll go through. I'm not sure what the performance will be like. I think Freddie will probably send them out there, try and get an early goal, settle it down. We'll go through. We've got to go through because I've got an hotel booked in Gdansk because I'm not cancelling it. So we've got to go through, boys. I hope he puts a strong side out. I hope he plays Pepe again, gives him some time. Be interested to see who he plays in defence with Bellerin and Tierney missing. What he's going to think about, wherever he'll think about who he's going to play on Sunday. But I think we'll nick a result tomorrow night. It ain't going to be exciting, but we'll get an early goal and grind out a George Graham 1-0. How's that?
I'd take that.
I'd take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
More than anything else. I want them to build some momentum, some confidence going into the Man City game, so that they've got something. If we don't play well against Man City, because I mean they're fucking Man City. Sorry, they're Man City. They might not be playing well, but they could still tear any team apart with the players that they've got. But I think if we've built up a bit more confidence with tomorrow night, I think we'll probably stand a bit more of a chance. Maybe not without.
Well, they're not playing very well at the minute, City, are they? It's
they're not playing last 4 games.
With the players,
lost 4 games.
With the players they've got, they can still turn up and rip any team apart if they are so inclined. For some reason, they're not playing very well, and we will hope to make sure of that. But they've rested all of their top players tonight. They're playing the kids out.
Just to finish off, Johnny, before we do, and you can come straight back, and just to finish off on the Liège game, our likely lineup is to be without Tierney. Rob Holding has an outside chance, and Ceballos may get some action over the weekend. Wouldn't we all like that? And Granit Xhaka is probably going to be out because of concussion, and Hector Bellerin because, as we said, the hamstring against West Ham. So it's likely to be Martinez, Chambers, Socrates, Mustafi, Kolasinac, Guendouzi, Torreira, Saka, Willock, Nelson, and Aubameyang. Thoughts on that? Bearing in mind the game that we were just about to swing into, which is the City game. Would you be happy with that?
Did you say you didn't mention Lacazette then? Lacazette's got to play first. He didn't play at the weekend. Lacazette will play. He's got to start, surely.
I think
he's got to start.
I think Lacazette has been a bit off the boil of late. I think you're right. He needs to play, especially to build his confidence back up.
You're right there, Steve.
Steve's got the flu.
He's off. He's gone. Look.
Let's remove him for the minute. We can come back in afterwards.
Go grab those man sizes.
So Lacazette, yeah, I agree with Johnny. I think he's just off the ball a little bit at the minute, and he's just been dropped to try and get his form back in. My fear is that we're overplaying Aubameyang. That's my fear with that one.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a bad thing to rest him. I just put him on the bench for tomorrow, and then play Lacazette instead. I would play Martinelli again. Definitely play Martinelli again. Build on his confidence, and then maybe not Pepe, but maybe put Pepe on the bench and play Nelson instead.
Personally, I'd have Pepe starting all the time. I would. What's that?
I'm in 2 minds with Pepe. I think he's got really good buy-in from the performance on the weekend, from Monday night. And I think possibly it might be better to bring him on from the bench once we're maybe 1 or 2 goals ahead, so we're in the ascendancy, so he can then push forward and then build on that.
We said on some previous podcasts before about your core starting 8-9 players, and if Freddie has found a core of players in the side that gets West Ham that fought back for the first time since October 2011 to win from a losing position at half time, and they did turn out convincing in the end, but from such a low level of confidence, I think you need to start. I'd rotate maybe Lacazette and Aubameyang possibly, but I would be starting Martinelli again. I'd be starting Pepe, because against a side like Liège, they can get 2-3 goals and then take them off after half an hour, or take them off at half time if we've got a decent lead, but give them some confidence. It's all about building confidence with this side.
I don't think any manager's got to bring off a player at half time if you're a few goals ahead. And no player is going to want to be taken off at that point. I mean, you see the reaction of Lacazette when he gets taken off after an hour last season. He wants to score goals. When you're in the ascendancy, you can smell the goals, and they want to be on the pitch scoring them. So that's why I'm saying the other way around: start him from the bench, bring him on with 60 minutes or whatever when we're in the ascendancy, or if we need someone to come on. Either way, you can buoy his confidence from such a good performance against West Ham. I mean, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I'm hoping the lineup against Liège is going to include Willock, Chambers at centre-half, Martinez, these players who can really drive the team forward, have a good spine going through the team. I think Willock is an underused asset. I think this season he could have really hit the ground running more.
So final question on this game, and then almost segueing into the City game. Who do you play Ozil in this game on tomorrow night, or do you play him against City on Sunday?
Who? Play who?
Ozil.
Well, first, I'm still a bit gobsmacked that you boys think that Lacazette's been off the boil. He's been doing all right from what
I was busy sneezing. I never made that opinion.
I think he is a bit off the boil, not for the want of trying. His effort is there. His link-up play is there. And I think he is starting to get chances put away. But I just, my gut feeling is he's kind of picking up on the vibe of the squad as it was, and he hasn't been at his absolute best. I mean, he's unplayable.
Yeah. I think he looks unhappy or niggling injury or something. That he doesn't look 100% at the party. Yes, Dave Atkinson came along and said he scored 3 and 3. Trev, you're right. He is still scoring. He's still playing well, but he's not the Lacazette of 2 months ago.
But then on that, Aubameyang is not the Aubameyang of 2-3 months ago. None of the players are. I missed what's said, but I think with Lacazette, I think we've said it since day one, he's a confidence player. And I think if the team isn't performing around him, he takes it personally. I think he's the sort of player that look at even when he scored the goal the other week, when everyone was saying, he saved Emery's job, you could tell even by that performance, even though he scored, that wasn't enough to bring him up. He still looked gutted.
Probably because he knew he saved his job.
But I think I would like to see him start tomorrow. The problem is like we said it with Arsene, we said it with Unai, and we're now going to be saying it with Freddie. How can you get him and Aubameyang in the same team, in a balanced team, playing well? I think
Steve, it's all about the midfield and the creativity.
Exactly, it's how you play behind them.
I go back to my previous question that nobody has answered. It's like being on bloody question time here. Ozil, do you play him tomorrow night, or do you play him on Sunday?
I'll play him tomorrow, not Sunday.
Yeah,
you play him tomorrow night.
I wouldn't play him. You got to hold your hands up and say he's not been playing well enough for a long time now. Ozil, he's not been playing well enough. He's average. He's averaging. And he's not. He shouldn't be our average player. He should be our superstar. And Fergus, you just hit the nail on the head. You're talking about the supply to our forwards. I don't see enough cutting balls coming from Ozil into our forwards. Kolasinac put more balls into our forwards the other night than Ozil did, and Kolasinac was playing left back. So I have issues with Özil and Lacazette, and I don't go any further than that because you know what I'm like. I'm forever the positive. And if I'm honest, we shouldn't be having this conversation about this and bad and that's bad. We've just won our first game in a long time. You know, we should be jovial about that. We should be looking forward to tomorrow. We're going to win tomorrow. We're going to nick a win tomorrow. And I fancy us to beat City as well. And then I fancy us to beat Chelsea. And then Everton. And then Man United. And then we'll beat Leeds 7-0 at home in the Cup. And Freddie's there for 22 years. I'm an happy man. And we move
love
on.
you, Trevor, because you got no hair. We love you, Trevor. Oh, dear.
Or better than your Aubameyang song.
I love your optimism. I do think we'll probably win tomorrow evening. Yes, I think we will go through. I'd like us to win because we go through group favourites, and I wouldn't want to particularly bump into some of the ones that are dropping out of the Champions League in this, which makes a joke with the Europa League when they drop into the next round of 655 million. And you've got the likes of Salzburg, who are playing last night against Liverpool, and a Liverpool friend of mine said they are a decent side and they could go on to definitely get close to the final. And I have a room booked in Gdansk. I just changed mine because I've got one much closer to the stadium, Trev. I'll talk to you afterwards about that. So yeah,
okay, mate.
Yeah. And Melina, yes, Nick and yourself are hoping to go. And if we do get to the final, fingers crossed, we can have a proper road trip. My wife might even come with me.
So, but it's not a bad place to go, Gdansk, is it?
Whereabouts?
It's not a bad city. It's not a bad city.
I'm not too clued up on the old geography.
It's a coastal dockyard town, isn't it? Is it northern Poland?
It's partially industrial
Poland.
Docklands, and then it's got a seaside part as well. My daughter's visited there in the summer a couple of years ago with her partner, and it was really nice. Man City on Sunday. So City field a weaker side, as you said earlier, Johnny, tonight in the Champions League, as they've already qualified. What are your thoughts on the likely outcome of the game? Trev, we know you think we're going to win, so that's fine. Johnny, honestly, what do you think?
I think it could go either way, depending on how we perform tomorrow. I think the way they're playing, the way we're playing, I think we've got every chance of going there and they're coming to our house at the end of the day. And that's where we're strongest.
In the middle
So
of
we've
our
got
street.
every chance of giving them a good game. I don't see why we can't expect a good performance.
No, Steve?
I've always been an optimistic one. I think we'll get a draw. I think there'll be a couple of goals in it for each of us. It's hard to say we'll come away from a win, even though they haven't been great.
If City only get a draw against us, the league title has gone to Merseyside. I think it's there already.
Yeah, I think it's there already. But I think the best. I personally think the best we can get is a draw. Just because of our defensive issues, I don't fault. I don't think if our forwards are clicking, that will be enough. Just because City have got so many options going forward. They've got a strong midfield. Otamendi's playing well. Surprisingly, I think there'll be a couple of goals in it each, maybe a 2-2, but I think it'll be a draw.
Okay.
There you go for Desmond.
Yeah.
We'll nick a win. We'll nick a win.
I hope so. Obviously, I really hope so, but we'll see. Tomorrow first.
Anthony Harris has a good point on here, so don't get too excited. Man City are injured. They're hungry. They'll want to win.
Exactly.
They need the points, and that's what champions people who challenge champions will go for. Yes, there are other teams in the mix. Leicester is in the mix, probably more so than Man City currently at the minute. But I think it's probably more or less a done deal. What's not a done deal at the minute is Freddie is not being appointed for a 22-year contract, as Trevor wanted earlier. There's talk of Ancelotti. Ancelotti is available. He's been sacked by 2 major clubs. He's been at Chelsea. You know, he has been successful at several clubs. He's also been average. Wasn't he at West Ham for a little while?
Don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so.
He's been at Bayern. He was at Bayern, wasn't he?
No, it wasn't. Ancelotti. No, I think I'm confusing it with the Israeli guy.
Benioun.
No, not the player. The manager.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
Avram Grant.
That's him.
But
That's him.
Does Ancelotti? You know, Everton are in the mix for him as well, so they're looking for a manager.
In the mix for Emery as well.
Yeah, I did see links to Emery there. But then there's strong links with Arsenal, and a lot of the setup at Arsenal and Everton, because you've got Mashiri and you've got Uzmanov, who doesn't own Everton Football Club at all. Honestly, he doesn't. He doesn't. He wasn't part of it.
Mashiri is not a financial puppet. We do not think he is.
No, we don't. So there's strong links there with Mashiri, Uzmanov. You've got players who've gone there like Theo, Iwobi. You know, there's obviously a dialogue gone along there. It wouldn't surprise me if Emery rocked up there. I think it'd be a mistake for them, because I think Emery's issue is purely his confidence in his communication skills and his language. But would you be disappointed if Ancelotti did end up at Everton and we missed out on him? And if so, who do you want? Like there's people in the chat talking about Gusto. They're talking about Rafa. Who would you want?
I think me and Trev think the same thing. It has to be Rafa.
Absolutely, Johnny boy. You heard it here first. Rafa's the man. They can have Ancelotti. They can have whoever they want. Rafa will do the job at Arsenal.
Any of the other big names we're not going to get. Benitez is in his off season. Nagelsmann's never going to come. Sorry, Kai, not going to come. He is destined for the Bayern job. Everybody knows it. He is the person in demand. Rafa is the man. He's the one who knows the league inside out. He knows how to organise a team. He's tactically aware. He's kept his hand in. He's used to looking after big players, putting their arm around him. He ticks all the boxes, and we could keep him for a couple of years until he retires in a few years and on his merry way. He's not managed in London before, even though West Ham nearly got him a couple of years ago.
Rafa has managed in London. He was at Chelsea.
He was at Chelsea.
Oh, sorry, he was interim manager at Chelsea.
Yeah. I would like Rafa. I wouldn't be too bothered if Ancelotti went to Everton, simply because maybe it's again a little bit the optimist. I think if we don't get Ancelotti, I would hope that the board have got their sights on somebody better suited, if they know what better suited is. I would hope for an Allegri. I would hope for a Rafa. I
wouldn't have Allegri, Steve. He can't speak English. We've just got over that problem.
Yeah,
if that was the main problem, nobody really knows. But
did you understand a word Emery said in a press conference?
Nobody did. He had to have subtitles inside the press conference.
He was making an effort. He was making an effort. Let's not be horrible.
I'm knocking for his effort, but at the end of the day, he wasn't the right man for the job. I mean, we need what every cosmopolitan magazine has said to women since the 1960s. We need Mr. Right, not Mr. Right now. Okay, we need the right man for the job.
Absolutely.
So, do you think, right? Do you boys think, right, that we sort of plucked Arsene Wenger from nowhere, right? We plucked him from absolutely nowhere, Wenger.
But the research went in first.
Yeah, let me just finish, Johnny. Let me finish, my old mate. We plucked him from nowhere. It turned out to be a superstar and a quick superstar. He won the Football League in his first season, right, or his second season, whatever it was. Do you think Arsenal have got this in their head now that we're not going to go for a well-known manager? We're going to try and do a Wenger thing again, you know, and that worries me greatly. That worries me greatly. I want to name in. I want Rafa in, you know, and a proven man. I don't want us to risk another 10 years of what we've had, you know.
Yeah, not right now.
I agree. End of the day, we have far more to lose now than we did then. Back then, the league was a fraction of its size now. We didn't employ anywhere near as many people as we do now.
Full-time employees when Arsene Wenger, George Graham sort of era came in. I was talking to somebody about it before, and we've now got 450 or something like that employees.
Wasn't that interesting, Fergus? Wasn't that interesting, mate? To read that, mate. It wasn't 450; it's 750.
Okay.
Wenger's come out with that, hasn't he, mate? There was 80 employees at the club when Wenger took over in 96, was it? No, when was it? Wenger come in?
96.
Whenever it was, 96 when Wenger come in. There was 80 employees. Now there's 750 employees. And he thinks that's part of the problem, that we went from being this compact unit to bloated. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Johnny. Yeah.
What I am hearing on the grapevine, I've heard it from 2 or 3 sources, that an announcement will be made of who will be our next manager on Friday. Again, don't shoot the messengers, just what I'm hearing. Freddie will be in charge for the City game, but that person who will be the manager will be in the Emirates, like they always are up in the gods, for the Man City game. The name I'm hearing is also from North London, and I'm hearing Pochettino an awful lot. I heard that Edu.
I wish I could swear.
What's that?
I wish I could swear. I do not want that old spud. I'm sorry.
Okay, so on that note, because this will be our final little bit of debate. If it was Poch, because Rafa's got history with Chelsea, he's got history with Liverpool, Ancelotti's got history with Chelsea, he's got history with other. So anybody we're going to bring in is going to have history with some other team along the line. But
doesn't count, Fergus.
With Pochettino, he managed Tottenham and he won sod all with Tottenham. Okay, their captain said he was signing a new contract on Sky Sports many years ago, back in 2000, and he did sign a new contract. He signed a new contract with the Arsenal Football Club, not Tottenham Hotspur. Sol Campbell came to us. Sol Campbell won stuff with us. Sol Campbell was an invincible with us. Would you not like to see if Pochettino came here and even won the League Cup, he would have won more than he had won with that lot down the road?
No. Right. Because I don't want their cast-offs. We nicked Sol Campbell. They wanted to keep him. We don't want their cast-offs. We want someone who's actually a proven winner. Pochettino has won bugger all. Don't want him. He's soiled good.
Good point, son. Good point, son. Listen, right? Johnny's exactly right. We stole Sol Campbell. That was funny. It was brilliant, actually. You know,
we wanted to win the league at White Hart Lane, so we came to Arsenal.
Let me go on record now, right? Yeah, exactly. Let me go on record now. If Pochettino comes to the Arsenal, he will get my full support.
Yeah.
Of that, there's no doubt. I will support him every second of the way. I will stand on them terraces and scream and shout for him, right? And I will back him. And I'll never say a bad word. But I don't want him in the first place. If he comes, we have him. But you asked who I want, I don't want him. I don't want their cast-offs. Imagine if he comes to us and we go on a long losing streak. Oh, no. Imagine if he comes to us and we go on a winning streak. Yeah, I look at it from that side. Yeah, that's good. But he will get my support, Pochettino. If he comes to Arsenal, he'll be an Arsenal man and I'll back him. But I don't want him. I don't want him. Don't want their cast.
He's already said he would never manage us. And even if he hadn't, why would you go and manage the team whose fans for how long was he there? 5 years? 5 years we were singing about his mum being a whore. For 5 years. Every single game, not just against Tottenham, every single game that song comes out, right? He's not
It
going
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whoever is the Arsenal manager, the Tottenham manager. It will be Mourinho's wife. It was George Graham when he went over there. It's just he's Pat Jennings was one of their cast-offs. One of our best keepers, wasn't he?
Pat Jennings was well. It is about the only player I can recall, right, that's played for Tottenham and Arsenal, and he's still a hero at both clubs. I can't think of one other player that's played for Tottenham and Arsenal who's been a hero at both clubs.
The only reason he gets away with because they didn't do a huge amount at Tottenham, I don't believe. I don't know his Tottenham history that much, but he actually was a Tottenham fan, so that's why they welcomed home with open arms. So I don't know. Listen, boys, it's been another very good podcast. 100 not out. We're going to win the league, I've named it, because we're going to be ever so positive. As we've had quite a few comments. We've had Raul's been quite a bit of a comedian. You'll get me in trouble, Raul, with some of your things. He was suggesting
Love that Maradona comment, by the way.
Yeah.
He's going to bring Maradona in as he thinks he's cheap. He's 30 kilos a week, apparently. So I don't know if that's Argentina,
right? It saves them even more money.
Yeah, Tottenham can stick their cheese room. We've got Maradona in the powder room.
Yeah. So we've had Dave Earl, we've had Raul, we've had Kai, Martin, Matthew, Terry.
Don't forget Terry.
You've not said who you want Fergus to manage us going forward.
He wants Poch.
You want Poch.
I do. I've said it. I was on Arsenal Fans TV.
The comments ripping you about the name Pochettino.
So disappointed in you. So disappointed.
Listen, we'll do 2 minutes of this because we're overrunning already. I went on it because I was so wound up after.
So drunk. Was it 10 points in, 12 points in, you were saying?
I don't know. You figure it out.
Beanie man.
It was probably 12, yeah. But I was actually quite wound up with a lot of what I was hearing from the fan base and a lot of the younger fan base and just people go, yeah, F this, F that. And I just thought, like, okay, it's relegation. This is crap. This is the other. It was so negative, so divisive, so toxic. Yes, there's been the thing on Talk Sport, and yes, there is a lot of toxicity around the whole AFTV sort of genre. And I stood in the crowd. I went and saw Lee, and like Lee went on and done his piece. And I actually don't mind Lee's pieces because he speaks like one of us generally.
He is one of us.
Yeah, he is one of us, but he does speak like an Arsenal fan, and he comes on here as an Arsenal fan, and he goes on to Same Old Arsenal, a couple of other podcasts, and he does it because he's an
throughout, isn't he?
Yeah,
that's what I've always liked about
him.
He's not
like some of them who have got an online persona. Me and Trev know very well from our experiences out in Minsk that certain people have a different persona when they're on camera.
I'll tell you what,
absolutely.
I've met DT and Troops and Robbie on several occasions at different games and so on, and I've talked to them on off camera, and the majority of the time they're okay. I'll tell you who I was really annoyed with. Let me finish the reason why I went on. I was that annoyed with the fan base, and I thought, all these people standing around here and moaning and criticising about Arsenal, saying this and booing them off the pitch and this, that, and the other. I asked the question of Robbie, and it's about 1,000 gangsters that were hanging around there. And there were, honestly, it was.
Groupies, not gangsters.
I know, man.
Not gangsters, they're groupies waiting to suck them off.
Yeah, honestly, they were standing there, and I said, will you be there if we're 17th? Will you be there if we're in the championship? Will you be there? Because being an Arsenal fan is about supporting your team, not a manager, not a player, not anything. You just support the team because you support the team.
This. Absolutely. We support the name on the front of the shirt.
Exactly. Through thick and thin. Yeah, George. through thick and thin. You know, we are going through a crap stage at the minute. We, as Trevor said earlier, we should be a little bit more upbeat because we won on Monday night. We're hopefully going to win tomorrow night. Hopefully with a performance in on Sunday. If the result goes our way, even better. But I'll be there. Johnny will be there. Trevor will be there. There'll be loads of us.
Watching.
You'll be watching. Yeah, we will be there supporting our club and singing. People slag off the Ashburton Army. People slag off the We Care movement. People slag off everything. Everybody wants to slag off everything that is to do with Arsenal. And my point, and the only reason I went on to AFTV wasn't 12 pints of lager. It was because I thought people need to get back to grassroots and know what it is to be an Arsenal fan.
Right, listen, Fergus, you're so right. I'm going to put my neck on the line here right now. The very first time I came on this podcast, I was kindly introduced to Fergus by Johnny some time ago now. I said it then, and I'll say it again now, right? You don't support the individual players. You don't support the manager. You don't support the pitch, the stadium. You support the Arsenal, right? Through thick and thin, you support the Arsenal. If you're not going to support the Arsenal when we're 20th in the league and it's threat of getting relegated, don't come and be a glory hunter when we're top of the league, winning all the trophies, because that don't count. That don't count. What counts is when you're there through the bad times. That's a real fan, right? And I'm just going to go to Arsenal Fan TV. Now, I've never watched Arsenal Fan TV in my life, right? I've heard about the format. I've heard about how they conduct themselves, and I don't like that, right? But at the end of the day, they're Arsenal fans as well, right? And they're entitled to an opinion. I don't like the way they put it across. What I will say is,
me and you, Trev.
You what, mate?
They go to more games than me and you, home, away, every game. So for that, I
do. They do, but let me just finish, right? Because when we were in Portugal, I'd never met Robbie before. I'd never talked to the man, right? I was having breakfast. Who comes and sits next to me having breakfast? Robbie. And I had a lovely chat with him, right? He's a very intelligent man, right? And that's, I always judge on what I find, and that's how he sits with me. That don't mean I'm going to watch AFTV, but it don't mean I'm going to slag it off either. And then Johnny will tell you this, because last season when we were in Minsk, I got absolutely pie-eyed, right? I mean, I was very, very drunk. Johnny had shot off somewhere or another, and I sat in his car. I couldn't believe you went to bed. It was only about 4 a.m, Johnny. It's not as if it was late. But I sat at this bar, leant on this bar, having a beer, right, on my own in this casino. And this bloke comes and sits next to me, and he's got a tattoo on his hand, very similar to mine, right? So we exchange comments about tattoos, and we end up buying each other a drink, and we end up chatting, and then we end up going next door and singing a bit of karaoke, right? And it turns out, it turns out it's DT, right? I don't know the man from Adam, right? I probably wouldn't like him if I saw him on Arsenal Fan TV, but I've met him that once, and he seemed all right to me, right? You know, and that's how I draw my conclusions. So anyway, go back to where I started off this rant. You're Arsenal fans. You support the Arsenal. Don't be coming along when you're top of the league and saying I'm an Arsenal fan and then slagging us off when we're bottom. You support us through thick and thin. That's it. It's your team for life. Anyway, I'm done now. Right, I'm off. I need a cup of tea. Donna,
as we all are. Trev, thank you very much for joining. I know you got a 2-hour head start on us out there, so it's gone 10 o'clock at night. So for old boys like me and you, that's nearly bedtime. and I expect the electrical Donna is in the background with a cup of tea ready for you.
I've lost my voice ranting there at my age. I can't do it anymore.
Steve,
I love the Arsenal. I love the Arsenal.
Steve,
so you everyone. Sorry,
Steve, you've got family and everything else in Sunderland that you're up there to see. Are you going to get a Sunderland game in while you're up there?
If it's as cold as it's been the last couple of days, absolutely not. And they ain't playing good football at the moment either. But all depends. We'll see. I think they're playing Blackpool on the weekend, but I'm gonna spend time with the nephews. So all depends. All depends.
Johnny, I will see you Sunday. I take it.
I hope so. I've got a course booked. I'm going to be butchering a deer in the woods in the Kent Downs, and I should be leaving Kent about 3, and hope to get whizzing on my bike ready to the Emirates just before kickoff.
Okay, so I won't see you until probably halftime if you get there.
Usual place, under the 5.
Yeah, block 5, outside the gents' toilets. Very George Michael, isn't it?
Hey, you chose the spot.
Listen,
don't crash your car.
Just make sure boys, make sure you're about on the 29th. I'm so excited about coming back. It's been a long time since I've seen my last home game. I need you all there, yeah?
We'll do the 29th, and we'll do probably the pins or something like that.
I think my last home game, I was sat next to Trev.
I did, yeah.
Only for half of it, though.
I just need to have a pub that we can
Yeah.
bring Joseph into, because I got Joseph with me, and he's only we can't do the Tully or anything like that. So probably the pins are one of those, but either Woodbine or something like that. Listen, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. This is an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Remember, as I say, is down the bottom there. Make sure you subscribe and follow us. If you're on YouTube, ring the bell. Please, if you're watching on Facebook, can you go to the YouTube channel and start following on there? Because yet again, I've been banned on Facebook for something I really don't know what I've done. And it will mean that sometimes people won't be able to get to see this show. Terry, Anthony, Paul, Dave, Raoul, who else we got? Matt, Kai,
Terry,
Mike.
Billy. There's loads here in
Matthew,
in the chat box. Thank you very much for joining in. I hope you've enjoyed it. And just to say, up the arse.
Up the arse.
smash the back doors.